In this tutorial, I'm going to go over some of the basics of creating your own functions to do things that you would need maybe outside of a library that you're already given. In this case, for this lab, you'll be doing the minimize function, but first of all, you need to create a function that will be an input to the minimize function. So let's go ahead and just go over the basics of a function. To create a function, we use the syntax def, define, and then the name of our function, in this case just func. We have parentheses and then a colon. So we're defining with def, giving it a name here in blue with func, and then the parentheses inside will have what will be our parameters or input to the function. Now Python is an indentation-based language, so if you're used to maybe creating functions in another programming language, you're used to using brackets. But in this case, we just use indentation after the colon. So let's say we want this to be a function that computes 2 to the k. So we'll be 2 to the k. We'll set a variable equal to that. In this case, call it v. And then return v. So the meat of this function, we have a variable being set equal to a mathematical operation, 2 to the whatever the input is, in this case k. And then to get something out of a function, we call the word return, and then whatever it is that we want to return, in this case the variable v. Now return can be a lot of different things. Let's say we wanted to skip the middle step and just go ahead and put that right there. This is also a valid function. And let's say we do print. We can see this function and what it outputs. And we get 4. So that's the basics of creating your own functions. You can do a lot of different things. You can put whatever you want here, whatever kind of different function that fits together. Something that's important to remember when you're creating your own functions is the idea of local and global variables. So let's say I were to define a variable out here and then use it inside of this function. So because I'm declaring the variable outside of my function, that's going to be a global variable, something that I can use anywhere and that will be affected inside of the function. But if I were to declare it inside of the function, that would be a local variable or something that I can only manipulate inside of the function. So this can be useful if you just want to change things inside of the function and do operations on certain variables but then have them be the same afterwards, then you would just use a local variable. But if you want to change things throughout a function, then you would just use a global variable, and then we can manipulate it in the function, and then our output will have changed the global variable. So that's just kind of a basics of functions, creating your own functions. If you have any questions on that, literally all you need to do is Google Python functions, and it'll give you some of the basics of setting up a function, some of the more advanced things that you can do, and you can learn a little bit more.